didn't know you were that good at tech.
Yeah. I'm not. It's 1:30, but we're gonna hold off just for a minute or two, so hang tight if you would. All right. It is 1:31. 1:31, we're gonna get this meeting started. Thanks everybody for joining us here in the room and on the phone. We'll call the July 9th, 2025 STRGBA GSA meeting order. Here in the room, we have a quorum. So we have Jeff Roberts from the city of Oakdale. I should have started with Mike at the very end there. Mike Pitcock from the city of Waterford. Next to him is Jeff Roberts from the city of Oakdale. Next to him is Darren Smallin with the city of Riverbank. And then Christy, to his right, Christy McKinnon with the Stanislaus County. To my right is Timothy Barahona with the city of Modesto, and I am from Oakdale Irrigation District. MID is not here yet, but I've received a text from Jesse that he would be here for MID representation here in a few minutes. So we'll just get started with that. Item number 2, business from the public. So at this time, any interested persons are welcome to introduce any topic within the GSA's jurisdiction. Matters presented under this heading may be discussed, but no action will be taken by the GSA at this meeting. It's not required, but speakers may provide their name and address. Public comments will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. So we'll open it up to those in the room first before going to the phone. Business from the public.
John, really quick. I think you guys are belaboring this whole problem way too much. Your consultants have squarely identified the problem area on District East. If we just look across the Tuolumne River to the south, the Turlock East Basin has been dealing with this problem for 20 years. They have come up with a plan. It's implemented. The people that created this problem are paying into funds and paying extraction fees if they remove more than X amount. And it's working. It's a very good plan that's in place that has good results. That you need to take a really good hard look at it rather than trying to reinvent the wheel. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone on the phone? All right, moving right along. Item number 3. So I noticed right before the meeting that although we sent out the agenda online over constant contact list, we don't have it on the website. So we're still gonna hold the meeting and have discussion items, but we're not gonna take any action on the minutes. So we're gonna move on from item number 3 right to number 4. Number 4 is the draft 2026 budget. We've been working on this. Part of the TAC, looking through the numbers. So there were 2 attachments to the agenda. One is the agreement with the city of Modesto, the last one. That's the table. So that we all have the agreement signed off to get the annual reports done and the GSP updates done, or the 2027 update at least. That's the 5-year update. So this year, our costs are going to jump for the city Modesto invoice because of the GSP updates, the 2027 update. That's split between 2025 and 2026. So there's an additional $431,000 that is going to need to be spent on the GSP update in addition to the annual report costs. So looking at the actual budget spreadsheet, it's a little bit different than what we've done to date. You've got the 2025 budget working from the left at the top. We've got the actuals to date, and then based on those actuals, the projected, and some of those items stay the same, even though we've got another 6 months or a little less. But if we know that we're not going to have any further expenses, they stay the same. Otherwise, we projected out what it would be. And then the farthest to the right is the proposed. There's a couple of things to notice here. So we have money that is going to be carried over from last year. And you'll see that at the bottom or in the red, kind of halfway down. So there's 2 sections to this. There's the MID account section at the top. And then there's the City of Modesto section at the bottom, because essentially we have 2 different accounts. The City of Modesto account is related to this table in the back with the annual reports and the GSP update. We're going to focus on the section on the top. That's all the other items that we have, costs that we have. So the carryover is in the MID portion of the account. So that carryover, after looking at our projected 2025 costs, is in the red, kind of halfway down the sheet. So we're carrying over $226,000 to pay for what the expenses are this year. We're recommending at the very top of that MID account, we're recommending an operating expenses. We're recommending keeping $250,000 on hand. The reason for that is that if we have unexpected expenses, then it takes time for us to come back to a meeting, get a special assessment approved, then get the invoices out, then get payment from everybody. Everybody's got to go back to their boards. And right now we've got some uncertainty associated with the well mitigation plan, the management actions, the development of those, implementation of those, legal fees, all those things. There's some uncertainty right now, and probably more uncertainty than there has been in the past. So that's that's why we're recommending the $250,000 carryover. So that's one thing I think everybody needs to understand and take back to their councils and boards. Let the record show that Jesse Franco from MID show is at the meeting now at 1:38. Welcome, Jesse. So that's the first big thing. Otherwise, administration, we're proposing to stay the same. Grant preparation, and I'm just working my way down from the top. Grant preparation, we have $25,000 in the budget for that, and we're just carrying that over from last year. We didn't spend any of that money from last year. That's just in case something comes up, we could take advantage of the opportunity. Right now, unfortunately, the state looks like they're broke, and I don't see that happening. But we want to keep it in there just in case, is what we're recommending anyway. Insurance, that's a standard cost. That was just over $1,000, so we're budgeting $1,500 for that. Legal fees, right now with the management action development and the amount of public records requests we're getting and things like of that nature, we believe we're going to have more legal fees this year going forward. So we increased that from $20,000 to $30,000. Of note, there's been some review of our own individual agency attorneys that has not been billed to this. So that $20,000, if it had been billed to that, would have been more than what it is for the projected cost and for the actual date. So we need to keep an eye on that. So we're recommending $30,000 be in the budget for this year. We don't need to do a model update, so that's going away. We didn't spend that $50,000 in model update last year, so that's going to be a surplus in actuals versus our 2025 budget. Monitoring wells. So this is another one that everybody's going to want to go back to their agencies and talk amongst their boards and councils and see what direction they want to go on this. We are heading right into the development of the 2027 GSP update. In our first GSP in 2022, we did identify some data gaps in our monitoring wells. Monitoring wells are really important for us. It's not theoretical like the model It's empirical, so it's actual data, measured data in the field. We want to show, we believe, the committee believes that we need to move forward with making progress as we told the state we would in closing those data gaps. I think as we go into implementation of management actions, that data is going to be really important to rely upon. So we're recommending $350,000 for that item. You may recall we had Todd Groundwater present previously a recommendation on different tiers of monitoring wells if we were to move forward with them. So this $350,000 recognizes, I think it was 8 to 10 wells. And forgive me, I don't have my notes right next to me, but I think it was 8 to 10 wells, and it was at a cost that we had from the previous MID monitoring well project. And so that ended up being that 8 to 10 wells plus, I think, $25,000 to $50,000 for getting the bid documents prepared and project management, that sort of thing. So that's where that 350 number came from. And that's a recommendation because we don't think that we're going to have grant funding available, but we do want to start making progress on that. And timing wise, I think it makes sense to do it soon. So that's the 350. The 10,000 is for public outreach as part of the rollout of the well mitigation plan and implementation this next year. We're going to have some public outreach that needs to occur. We're also going to have the management actions that we need to get word out. So we bumped that up. Well, we actually kept it at 10,000, even though we spent 5,000 of that 10 last year. So we wanted to keep that at 10. Understanding that, the website rebuild and maintenance. So we are done with the rebuild. We're getting ready to roll that out. So we'll have a presentation of that here probably next month is what it looks like, but very soon. But that $8,000, $8,800 cost is high because of that. Moving forward, we're going to have some internal costs and then also some subscription licensing type of ongoing costs. So we're taking that down from 10,000 to 5,000 this year. DMS, it's adequate. We don't believe we need to spend any money on that. It's serving its purpose. As needed consultant support. So this is actually another one I should have put in red because this is one you're going to want to think about. But we believe it's important to make sure that we're providing a consistent message amongst all of the member agencies back to their own councils and boards. And, you know, it's hard for us to put together presentations and continue to keep them updated. We're recommending putting in some money to allow the consultant to allow us money to pay the consultant to prepare presentations periodically, at least quarterly, I would think, for all of us to take back to our member agencies and present at our council or board meetings. We don't think that we need to go to the extent and expense of having the consultant go to your individual meetings, because that ends up getting very pricey, which I'll touch on in the next item. But Jesse and I have talked, and we would be willing to attend your meeting and have you present to your council, your board, and be willing to be in attendance to help provide any kind of feedback on things that you couldn't answer. So that's the 75,000. That's where that's coming from. That's a recommendation. And it's an important time to do that with moving forward with these management actions and well mitigation plan. Development and implementation, I think it's important we do that right now. And we all agree that was important. Management actions and well mitigation consultant. So the budget was 200,000. We're projecting that it's going to cost us more. We've heard from Todd Groundwater and we've heard from Woodard and Curran. The original contract that we had with them did not account for as many meetings as we've had to have and as many workshops as we've had to have. And we think that it's good to have more than less and continue to have that feedback. So we're recommending that we do an amendment to continue the way on the path that we are. We think that's going to be right around $250,000. We didn't see a need to bring it back to this group because we're not going to exceed the 2025 budget. So we're just borrowing from another account. But overall, that total amount that we all approved in 2025, that 621 on the MID side of things, we're only projecting to spend 267,000 of that. So we have plenty of money in the account to cover those additional expenses. We're recommending still putting in some money in the budget for next year, because as we roll out the well mitigation plan, and as we develop and roll into implementation of management actions, there may be some costs. But we'll talk more about that at how we're going to potentially handle that at the next workshop. But we think right now it's important to put some money in there in case we have some additional expenses, and we think there will be. So there's $150,000 in there for that. Well mitigation plan and management action implementation. That's the 300,000 that we collected last year. So we collected it last year for implementation next year, because it takes a while for invoices to go out and then agencies to pay it. So we want to be ready in January and have that money in hand. So that 300 is just simply carried over. Operating revenue. So that's what you would actually be billed per agency. So you can see that the invoices last year for the MID side of things was 88,800, just short of 88,800. This year, with those projected or proposed items in the budget, operating expenses, when you deduct the carryover and you from the 2025 budget and the carryover from what was in our account before, the invoices would remain at 800 or 88,000, just under $88,900. So your invoice from MID would remain largely unchanged. However, the invoice from the City of Modesto, as I noted before, because of the GSP update, will increase from the 23, just under 24,000 up to the 75,500, just below that per agency. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions or comments from the member agencies on the draft budget. And I'll preface that by saying that this is what we typically do, and according to our MOU, is we meet as a committee, we develop this draft budget, we come back and bring it to the agencies, we talk about it, you take it back to your agencies and your councils and boards, digest it, we come back to the next meeting, we'll probably put it on next month as an action item. If everybody's comfortable and on the same page to take action, then great. If not, then we can kick it back and try to incorporate any comments you have next month. And then we would adopt a final budget no later than September 1st. So we're on track to do that right now.
Can you remind me of about when we would expect invoicing from the two agencies for the next fiscal year?
This will be invoiced typically from City of Modesto in January.
For the stuff within the cost share agreement for the GSP updates and annual reporting, it's December 31st, which usually ends up rolling over to like early to mid-January. So, December 31st is the last day of the year, but that's how we wrote the agreement. But it's unlikely we'll probably bill exactly that day, but around that time frame, or at least it's like
we're on a calendar year budget, so these are all expenses that would happen from January 1st, 2026 to December 31st, 2026.
So we'll get the invoice next December for the GSP update.
Yeah, so the cost from your agency won't come out until after January 1st. Likely for MID or City of Modesto, rather, you pay towards the middle to end of January.
Gotcha.
And then MID historically has been a little bit later than that, like March or something like that, I think. Yeah.
Awesome.
So the one question I had is the 250 minimum cash on hand. Just kind of remind me, what's the policy as far as how that money is expended? And is there a certain threshold which always has to come back here, or is it every expenditure comes back here? I mean, who has the authority to spend those dollars?
Any expense would come back and we would report it, essentially, just like we are for the overage on the well mitigation and management actions. There wouldn't need to be formal action unless we exceeded the budget. So essentially we have the authority, but we would discuss it before we started spending that money. There is no policy for how much we carry over, and that's why I wanted to talk about it today and make sure everybody's aware that that's the recommendation.
Okay, so your thought is if it's in the budget, we can expend it without having to come back for approval. Most agencies have a authorization limit for their CEO that basically says you can spend up to 50, or like my case, like 25, and then it has to go back to council and they have to touch it. So I didn't know if there was a limitation where we have to touch every expenditure over a certain dollar amount.
just for efficiency, we haven't done that in the past.
Okay.
And our expense has been pretty low. I think that's probably why we don't have anything in the MOU to cover that, but yeah. Anybody else?
No, I think the only comments or questions, comments and questions, I guess, first, it was through the City of Modesto kind of proposed this format. I thought it worked pretty well. But we want to get your input on it, but ultimately I think it worked pretty well. And we'll work with Eric and Timothy actually to make sure this I think flowed pretty well. And then secondly, I think the intent is to provide either quarterly updates so that you can report back on where we stand from a budget perspective and expenditure. So that's kind of the intent moving forward. I think.
Yeah, at least 6 months in
Yeah.
update, which we haven't really done in the past, but we have a little more money going in and out now, so I think it'd be good to at least do a 6-month update, if not quarterly.
So you have an idea of when we could start maybe planning for that information, be ready for an update, quarterly update?
You mean as far as, I don't,
With
sorry.
the work the consultants we're going to do to provide the information for us to take to our boards to give an update on our progress for implementing.
Oh, yeah, okay. I was thinking about this. No, we haven't gotten a contract in place with them yet, but I'm hoping pretty soon. Be nice to get that out in front of everybody soon. At least the first round. So a couple months maybe. I know the next meeting we're looking at also having an update on the water levels for spring 2025. So they're working on that. I think after they get that done, maybe we'll have a little bit of time in between that and the GSP update when they're collecting data from all the agencies to maybe get that first round done. That's what I would envision. So yeah, I'm hoping soon.
One last thing, going back to the unanticipated expenses, cash on hand. I would recommend, obviously we can't take any action on it today, but I would recommend that quarterly we would bring something back with itemized expenditures, not just hey, we spent 100 of it, we need to have the itemized.
Oh yeah, just like this,
Yeah.
every item and say what we've got an update.
But
Yep.
not just, we spend 100,000 of the unanticipated expenses, but these were the 100,000 we spent these all different expenses, so that way we kind of see what's going on. Just for formality and making sure that we understand how the money's being spent.
And we have that in a second. Yeah, we just didn't provide that level of detail. We saw it, but we just didn't provide it with this. But we're happy to
share roll up, but we have supplemental.
Yeah.
Provide that actually lays out.
more detail. Yep,
Sounds good.
absolutely. Nope. Anything else? Okay. We'll open up to the public for public comments on item number 4, the budget.
Bill Lyons, from the Modesto Irrigation District area. Also, we own some property here in Riverbend. I just wanted to really don't have a tough comment. Want to compliment the fact that you are going to build some kind of presentation that would be across the board. I've attended a number of not presentations, but number of discussions. Sometimes the message isn't quite consistent, and I think having a single presentation makes a lot of sense, so that you all carry basically the same message back to your boards and councils. I would make one recommendation. I've attended a number of the WAC meetings, and I'd really like to see this group's consultant make a presentation in front of WAC, because some of the meetings that I've attended, I don't think some of the information provided by the public, some of the questions that are asked by the public are really addressed by, the way I would think they should be addressed by a third party consultant. So that would be just a recommendation that you appear in front of the lab. Again, I'd like to compliment you for that in the budget, to have a presentation made up that was consistent, so each one of you got the same message to your electeds. So thank you.
Thanks.
John Rico. That Ward used to come around and measure the wells. Now Christie apparently do it. Why do you need $350,000 monitoring well? It's a factual than actual
This is,
wells.
yeah, work, so actually, we monitor our wells, MID monitors their wells. Christy, you've got wells that you monitor as well.
We do the monitoring in the Northern Triangle. So we've got something like 8 wells up there, the landowner simply has permission to monitor, but we're not looking at anything.
In the Modesto Basin.
Right.
Okay. And then I think you are doing your own monitoring. Well, this is actually construction for more wells to fill in where we don't have data currently. This is,
There's no deep wells in those areas.
so yeah, there's no wells that we have access and permission to. Yeah. And they're pumping wells. So it becomes challenging when you have a production well and you're out there trying to pump to time it right where you're not having drawdown artificially rather than just getting a good representation of standing water level in that area.
Too bad. Can't say that.
Anyone else? Going to the phone here, Louis B. Louis, you got your hand raised? Can't hear you if you're talking.
Oh, hello.
There we go. Now we can hear you.
Ah, great. Hey, I got a quick question. The as needed consultant support for this presentation. So Todd Groundwater or Woodard and Kern would be doing that work, or could you clarify that for me?
Yeah, that's what we would envision because they are the ones that have been doing our GSP updates and our annual reports, and they've also got the contract for the flow mitigation and management action plan. So it would make sense to have them do this.
Gotcha. Okay, I was just checking. That makes sense. Thank you.
Anyone else on the phone? Going once. Going twice. All right. Thank you very much. So everybody, make sure you take that back and we'll meet again next month and see what everybody thinks. Item number 5, just about the next meeting. So we're going to have a workshop next week, week from today. It's at 1:30. That's both virtual and in person, but that's going to be at MID, 1:30 at MID. And that is a board workshop. So I would like to have a quorum there and I'd like to have everybody there. I'm in attendance. It's going to be an important workshop, again, with a focus on management actions. Beyond that, our next meeting, GSA meeting, will be here at OID on August 13th at 1:30. And amongst other things, we will be talking about this budget. Any member comments on that?
For that workshop, we have to be there in person. Virtual.
I'd like you to be there in person. I think it's better to have a presence there, but if you can't, virtual's better than nothing.
But you need a quorum. You need majority.
Yeah.
Person.
Yeah. And you could actually still, you just wouldn't be shown as attending. You can't attend virtually and get credit for attending, essentially. So you'd be participating as a member of the public, essentially. If there were any action items, you wouldn't be able to vote on them, even though there won't be. But
Yeah, I didn't know where.
no, we're not planning to.
Do we have an update as to when the meeting materials will be available for the public?
We're thinking that likely tomorrow, if not Friday. So the end of this week is when we're hoping to release the agenda and then also hopefully copy the presentation ahead of time so people have a chance to digest it. Good question. Anything else? Members of the public, have any comments on item number 5, the next meeting or workshop? All right. Item number 6, committee comments reports. Nope. All right, good, very efficient meeting. 2 o'clock, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.